Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chasing Psychological Safety. Today, back to the topic of we must pay people for the human work. And if we are coming back to this topic, and if we are being serious about understanding what it takes to really dissect the topic of recognizing and rewarding the human work, then we have to be taking a step back and thinking, where do we start? Even with the best intentions, if you happen to be part of an organization that has done nothing so far on the topic, hasn't really spent the time to work out the need for the human work or how it gets done or if it gets done, and kind of communicate that to their people, then where do we start? And there are a number of things that need to be asked, and a number of things that need to be probed, and a number of things that need to be explored. But what we would suggest you start with is, first and foremost, finding out in one way or another, and we don't really know what that way would be because different people have different mechanisms, and most of these mechanisms are unfortunately not super efficient at giving you the true truth. You have to find out how your people truly feel. So the number one point of call, if you're going to be attempting to make this serious transformation towards a people-centric, culturally sound, non-HumanDebt organization, will have to be that you look around and you figure out, are our people in the midst of an epidemic of great proportions, where they are burnt out, where they are tired, where they are unrecovered after the pandemic trauma, and they are in this situation where they cannot apply themselves? Are they actively disengaged? Are they practically checked out? Have they quiet quit? You can use whatever terminology you want, but at the end of the day, look around. Are your people doing poorly, or are they okay? If they're not okay, they're not fundamentally okay, if they're not in a place where they can be open enough to their own self-work and the work that they need to be doing with the team, then your resistance to the human work will be a lot higher. It's not unsurmountable, and there are still things you can and should be asking past this question. But you first and foremost have to work out, are you in crisis? Are your people actively disengaged and burnt out?
Absolutely. And it's certainly not just the obvious industries that are in that position at the moment. You know, we think very much about our healthcare workers and, frontline workers and all those people that have been left with a lot of stress post-pandemic and in an economic crisis. This is very much about the technology industry, the construction and engineering industry, all of the service industries where you think everybody's fine, but often they're not. And the reasons are twofold. As we've just said, first things first, check in on the actual mental and emotional well-being of your people and make that your baseline, your foundation for building a healthy place to work for your people and for your teams. And once you've got that under control, once you've got a level of confidence that your people are in a place where they can start to think positively and do some work on teams, connection, culture, that's when you can start checking in on some really, really important questions. So don't just roll something out. Don't just say, we think our people need this. Find out. So you need to do what we call a HumanDebt audit. And some of the questions you might ask in that sort of process are, are our people actually doing any human work now? Any of the people-focused, human-centric, culture-focused work? Are they even doing it? Do they have the opportunity? What does it look like? Is there time set aside for that? Is the time for that work respected? Do they have the tools and the software? Look, this checklist is in the article that we wrote yesterday, but it's basically around have we got dedicated time, resource, and headspace for our people to be able to make the human work part of the flow of their work, where it meets them in and supports them in doing the delivery work. And it all becomes part of the very same thing, the human work and the delivery work. And then it moves into how emotionally intelligent and connected are your teams? Are they learning and growing? Are they able to spend time thinking about the team dynamic and how that impacts their work? Are they psychologically safe? Are they flexible? Are they resilient? So there are two sides to this work that we need to do once we've laid the foundations. And one of them is very much about just understanding what is happening in your organization. You know, very often the human work happens at the team level. So we make an assumption that it's happening. But you need to know, you need to start finding out. And this isn't just an HR exercise. This isn't a survey that HR sends out. This is about HR working with your technology teams, HR working with your operations teams, very much in partnership to work out exactly what's going on in the organization so that you can start really lifting people up and lifting the organization up as a result.
Exactly. And once you've done that, that's the next step of the work comes in, where you have to work out which of these behaviors can you incentivize, how can you make sure that they are sustainable, how can you make sure that people now have consistency and enough trust to invest the time and the work into the human work. And that needs to be done at every level. We do see the crisis we were talking about, the crisis of EQ, the crisis of wellness, the burnout and the lack of engagement. That happens at every level of the organization. We'll talk about this some more in our articles next week. But what we see, the productivity paranoia, whatever other hashtag you see around, they can almost all of them mathematically be traced back to this lack of allowance for human emotions in the workplace. And it's time we reverse that once and for all. And it does start with a true audit of how your people are feeling, and then a way to incentivize them to do the work. So come talk to us. There's software that can help with this. There's a lot of the work we've put into understanding the aspects that make this problem so compounded. And we'd love to share that with you. And we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.